Right. Welcome back to Suppress This.
Suppress This. There we go. So it's episode 4, I believe.
Episode 4, yeah. And we're rolling, right? It's,
we're doing all right. So we've hopefully the lighting will be a bit better this time.
Yeah, we've killed the slow shutter and due to popular feedback as well, Christian has raided the armory and put some of the toys out because that's apparently what you guys like is gun porn. Don't like looking at me or him, just that stuff. But yeah. So apart from falling over this week, what's happened, mate?
Less said about that, the better. Well, people laughing at an old man laying on the floor.
Well, you know, it's a modern world, right? Can't be ageist these days.
So first UK PSA match of the year, mini rifle match, which was actually really good, held by Sterling down at the Quarry in Basingstoke. Great little match. First stage, yours truly goes off over tit. Fortunately, managed to not get DQ'd. And then had jams for the rest of the match. So wasn't great, but you know what? There was 30 people had a worse day than I did. So I'll take that.
Take it as a win, right? Take it as a win. Yeah. Anyway, not every match goes your way, right?
No,
there we go.
Rarely do they.
Anyway, so what have you dragged me here for today, mate? What are we talking about?
I think tonight we'll have a quick chat about suppressors and what's changing in the law and
change.
As we actually make suppressors for both rimfire and currently testing a couple of 223 versions. They're out the country at the moment being tested by a couple of guys who run some pretty cool stuff through them. So we'll test those to destruction. As soon as we get feedback on that, we'll let you know how they go. But I'd like to see them in production hopefully third quarter.
Yeah, if not before that, right? But and I get to go and play with them out of the country as well this weekend. So yeah, just to make everyone else feel a bit jealous. So, anyway, what are we doing? So suppressors then.
So the law is changing. From what I've seen, it looks like by the summer they will be coming off ticket.
Oh, it's TBC at the moment.
Yeah, all TBC. So if the government actually does what they say they're going to do, then they'll be coming off ticket, which will make it easier for everyone to have a suppressor, basically, for their various categories or various calibers.
Well, the suppressor stuff's been a bit of a joke, isn't it, really, in terms of, and I get it, I understand why they're on tickets and off tickets and all the rest of it, but like, 2-2 moderators you could put on your air gun and you didn't have to have a license for them, but you just had to have a license when you put it on your firearm. And I think the whole thing is a bit of a mess. And I don't think that's just us as the shooters saying that. I think the police are probably agreeing with it, hence why the law is probably changing and the Home Office are...
Well, I think, with all the paperwork involved, hopefully it reduces a bit of some of the paperwork for them, makes our life a bit easier. Well,
the thing I've always said, right, is that you can't really do anything with that if you don't have the bangy bit, right? and so I think it's a sensible approach to what they're thinking about now. As they're taking so they're not coming off license, right? I think the way I understand this, and guys chime in if I've got this wrong, but the way I understand it is you're still going to have FAC
to buy one,
right?
Or proof of proof of firearm ownership.
But it's not going to be a line item on your ticket per se, right? So. So not anyone can just go and walk into a shop like this and buy a suppressor. You're still going to have an FAC, a reason to have it. And that makes sense. But I think what's changing, as I understand it, is the fact is you don't have to have a slot for one of these. So for those of you that don't know UK firearms rules, etc., we have a firearm certificate.
Yep, firearm certificate, FAC. They'll have slots on it, or what you're allowed to have, how many you're allowed to have of that. And as you buy and sell, they kind of get crossed out. And then when you want to sell it and change to something else, you have to send that to the police. They'll take it off to free up that slot that you can then come and buy something else. So if you have a 2.2 suppressor on there and you want to change it for another 2.2 suppressor, you have to. It's a lot of paperwork for a very simple transaction. So let's hopefully this will make it simpler, which makes it easier for people to come in, not off the street, but firearms owners to come in and actually buy a suppressor.
No, 100% right. I think the fact is that you don't. Yeah, you have to have an FAC to have it. So there's still that sort of checks and balances, right? You've still gone through that side of things, but actually adding a suppressor to a firearm when you're shooting on a range actually is quite sensible sometimes.
Well, it is.
Shooting indoors and bits and pieces.
If you shoot in even like rural ranges, like where I am down at Headley Park, around the countryside. Yeah, 2.2 is not that noisy, but it's noisy enough. And if you can put a suppressor on it and take that noise down, the neighbours are going to be happier. It just makes it, it's just better. I think all round health and safety.
When you're shooting like the big stuff, like 308s and stuff like that, they pack out a pretty big bang.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So I mean 2.2 is kind of, it still hurts your earring, but yeah. So I think what they're doing is at the moment is that it's through a reading that they're going to change it through another bill. So the Firearms Act is primary legislation, so it has to go through the right channels and stuff like that. But from what we're reading and what we're hearing is that it's Q2. I think they're going to push it out.
Yeah.
What that means in terms of implementation, I think, is still TBC. But this is what's sort of coming through in terms of the public channels at the moment, and through like people like the Countryside Alliance and BASC, etc.
Yeah.
So it's encouraging, right? I think it's moving in the right direction. I guess the proof's in the eating. But one of the things we were chatting about earlier was, what you're going to do with your slots when you.
Well, I do have a slot, I think, for a mod, so we'll be changing that out for another rifle, maybe.
But so I think going back to what Christian's saying earlier was that when you have a slot, obviously when you release that slot, you get a 1-for-1 variation free of charge, and obviously if sound moderators come off ticket, are we all going to have a load of slots that we can change for other stuff? That's an interesting one to be debated. I'm pretty sure they'll see through that pretty quickly. But we can always live in optimism, right? That we can go and get some more toys on the ticket for valid reasons, of course. Yeah.
So I mean, just having a quick look over here, I've got the main changes was moderators will no longer be treated as firearms, which is taking them off ticket, even though you probably still have to have a ticket to be able to buy one, which I think is a sensible thing. And you got no FA slot for variation, which is another, I think is great. It's saving everyone time and hassle and money.
But it's also that overhead that the police just don't need to deal with, right? They've got more than enough. I mean, hats off to those guys and girls in the offices, right? But they're more than enough to deal with in terms of the 1-for-1 variations and bits and pieces. Yeah. And I think because of that, right, buying and selling them should become easier in theory. It should make our lives a bit easier instead of having to write stuff on them, etc. Interesting from an RFD point of view, do we still have to record who they went to? But again, we'll find out more as that kind of rolls through and we understand how that kind of plays out. But it's going to be good. And interestingly, a parallel really to what the US have done, really. So you still have to pay your tax. Is there a tax stamp now? I think they've taken that away now.
It used to be a $200 tax stamp, didn't it?
Yeah,
I think some states have done away with it.
Yeah, I think they've done away with it. So I think there's people are realising actually the suppressors they're a tool, right, to do a job, and they're sensible. And as I said earlier, you can't do anything without the bangy bit. So,
and that movie myth that suppressors make them dead quiet is
you can still hear them, right?
Just wrong. I mean, take a 308 with a suppressor on it, it's still a loud bang. It's not. It takes the sting out of it, but it's still a loud bang.
Yeah, and to quote one of our business partners, right, is you can't suppress a supersonic boom, can you? Right. No. So it's just impossible. So you're always going to hear a crack if you're shooting supersonic rounds. Equally, I mean, if you're shooting a subsonic like 300 blackout, I mean it's super quiet. Yeah. But
it's also a bit of bunny bashing. Subsonic 2.2 with a suppressor on. I mean, they are quiet. They are extremely quiet.
Very quiet. But it's not movie quiet, right? So it still goes bang. So it still will alert prey if you're out there shooting stuff, etc. But so we as Caliber, we've been gearing up not for this specifically, but Ali and the team many moons ago, and we've done them probably in several runs actually around the armor and the barrel moderator, which we haven't got one behind us actually, and this is one of the original Caliber Innovations 4-bore mods, which was the Juicist. So we've been in the
one here.
We've been in the sound moderator game for a while actually, but we've just done some more QD stuff because it's cool and people like it. But in terms of sound mods and stuff, there's a few. I think there's a few organisations out in the UK that do stuff. You got Wildcat Moderators, for example. You've got ourselves. And there's a few others. So it's going to be really interesting to see where, if the regulation goes away, how much more innovation we can do, because actually that hopefully we can draw the price points down, because actually there's more volume and we can spread the love, as they say. So it's exciting. I think we can do some cool stuff, and we're seeing people in the US 3D printing stuff and doing fun stuff with 2.2. So yeah, watch this space really, and see where the sound moderator world goes. But
yeah, I mean, again, make it easy to transport around the country. Internationally, it's still going to be a ball ache because I think those different countries have different.
It's always a ball ache, isn't it? In terms of everyone's got different rules for different games, for different. Yeah. And, I think the UK PSA guys saw that in terms of trying to take their guns to Tenerife not so long ago, and just didn't have a certain bit of paper and couldn't do it, even though both sides of the fence wanted to make it happen. So, yeah, and then 12-inch barrels versus 16-inch barrels. I mean, we could spend a whole day talking about what you can and can't do and who's allowed to do what. But sometimes we have more liberties, I think, than other countries in terms of what we can do. But which is, I think, the perception of the UK being the strictest isn't.
It's not. I don't think it is anymore. I think when you start looking around, I think our gun law. I know they're
tight, right?
They're tight, and they are what they are. Other countries have actually got it worse than us.
Yeah.
So we should be, in some ways, we should be happy with what we've got.
They're proportionate, right? Yeah. I think the only thing that I'd love to lobby to have back, and it's never going to happen, is handguns. But it is what it is.
I mean, that's the only thing it's really missing for me. It'd be nice to be able to practice with a proper handgun over here, so that when I go to the States or Europe and shoot, I've actually got the gun I use, rather than having to go back to the one I've left in America because it's. Because it's there.
Absolutely. So sound moderators, watch the space, guys. I think there's some good news coming for British shooters. And good news for people shooting with close proximity to other people on the range. So we'll keep you updated when we hear more. But it's not hot off the press. It's been mumbling about for a while now. But I think more and more is starting to trickle through with the government sort of ratifying where they're going to get to. So let's hope for the best and see whether they actually change the law.
Fingers crossed.
Perfect.
Yeah, cool. Right.
See you next.